Before we conclude this topic, I have to tell you that one of my sons told me that because this is really an important topic, I need to find an attractive young lady and a cool looking young man to do this series. So what do you get? You noticed you didn't get either of those individuals. Yeah, I know. I'm neither an attractive young lady nor a cool young man. You just get me. However, this is an important topic, so I was going to wear my Spider-Man outfit, but then reviewed a little bit and I got a thumbs down for that. Alas, I gave up, except I did wear this bright orange shirt. And I will accept volunteers for future presentations. So getting to the point, let's just start with a little review. We started out with the premise that 1, we all deal with difficult people. 2, that is to our advantage to be effective with difficult people. 3, that there are some factors that influence our dealing effectively with difficult people. And if we're aware of them and utilize them, we can be more effective with not only difficult people, but everyone. So we started out with number 1, you need to have an objective in dealing with difficult people. What do you want as the outcome? The objective will assist you in staying focused. 2, that a key in effectiveness is attitude, your attitude, and that we convey our attitude with 3 components: 55% by body action, 33% by how we speak, and 12% on what we say. These are critically important, and if you have forgotten the examples and are a little foggy on these areas, I suggest you review part 1 of this series. We said that there are some habits and our ways of thinking that work against us in these encounters. We suggested that you examine and actually take into account your prejudices, differences in perception, and personal traits. You may want to review all of these. In this segment, we will cover some positive things you can do that will assist in success with difficult people. Let us start with a very, very important item, and it's called listening. We value our importance as people by several things. One of those is how much people listen to us. The more time and intent people allow us to share talking to them, the more value we feel. Often people who are negative with you are so for a reason. Get them to talk about it. Get it all out. So positive step number 1 is to listen, not just biding your time till you can speak, but really listen. You'll be amazed at what it will do. I learned this from one of my sons. Grant was a junior or senior at the high school and had been into a one-night event there, and he came home about 11 o'clock and was extremely upset. He was just boiling. As an all-knowing father, of course, I started to make suggestions. While in that process, Grant said something to me that none of my children had ever said to me. He said, "Dad, shut up." It floored me. I couldn't believe he said that to me. It stunned me so that I shut up. He then said, "And listen." I did. It allowed him to get all the junk that was bothering him out. After that, he settled down and actually asked for some input. When you're dealing with difficult people, your tendency will be to defend, rebut, or comment during the other individuals as they're expounding. Don't just listen. Which brings me to the next story and a rule to really listen. Rule number 2 goes right along with number 1. It is hear what they're saying, not just words, but what they're really saying. We told you about Randy Lowry of Pepperdine University. Well, he has another true story that was interesting. It goes like this. Randy had been just returning from a seminar one evening, fairly late. His flight landed at his home airport, LAX, Los Angeles International. Everything was going great. He got his luggage and was about to go out to his car and drive home. Then he remembered that when he had come to the airport days before, he was in a hurry and had to park in closer. And you know what that means. It means the cost goes up. He estimated that the cost would be about $60. He also realized that he didn't have anything near that in his wallet. And in those days, and in that airport, and that parking area, credit cards were not allowed. So he needed cash. Well, he knew what little kids know, and that was that all you have to do is put a special card into the wall, and out comes money. So he looked around for an ATM, but where he was, there was none. He had noticed one down one of the concourses, and in fact, he could stand to see it. He was almost home. So he approached that concourse and was about to enter it when two rather large policemen stopped him. They inquired as to where he was going, and he explained that all stuff. And that they asked if he had a ticket for the airline down that concourse, and he didn't. And they told him he couldn't go down. He explained that he was only going down to the ATM and suggested that they could even watch him. They shook their heads. No. He thought for a moment and then suggested that he would give his card to one of them. They could go down to the ATM, take out $80, keep $20 for themselves, and give him the $60 he needed, and everything would be great. The policeman then explained to Randy that bribing police was a felony. They suggested that he go back to the ticket agent and see what she could do. He did. He asked if there was some pass or whatever that she could give him that would get him down that corridor to the ATM. She said she couldn't, and that the only people they let down were the ticketed passengers. Randy asked if there was someone over her that he might speak with. She said certainly. Soon he found himself in the office of that individual. Unfortunately, that too was a waste of time. Only ticketed passengers were allowed down the concourse. At this point, as you might imagine, Randy was very discouraged and was beginning to believe that he would spend the night at the airport. Then he began to remember what he had heard when he should have been really listening. Everyone he had talked with said the same thing. Only ticketed passengers were allowed down the concourse. With that going through his head, he went back to the ticketing agent and he said to her, he'd like to buy a ticket. She asked, where to? And he responded with, he didn't really care, which started to really raise some eyebrows. He then said, how about San Francisco? She said, fine. He gave her his card and she gave him a ticket to San Francisco. He approached the policeman who parted like the Red Sea. He went to the ATM, got the money, and started to leave. When he thought, what a waste. So he went back to the ticketing agent and told her he had decided he didn't really want to go to San Francisco and asked if he could have a refund. She said that she hadn't even put it through into the machine, so not a problem. So she took the ticket, he got his money back, and, well, the rest is home. You get much further listening than talking, and remember, there may be perceptions that you differ with him or her, and you can't change those by arguing. Remember, no arguing. Next rule is to focus on the issue, the concern, the problem, but never on the person. I like to think of it virtually that we're both standing side by side, not across the table looking at each other, but together looking at the issue and ways to solve it. Well, finally, there are a number of other things you could do to work effectively with difficult people. We've just given you a few. But let me close this area with the most important part of any of this. Information is just information. You see everything, you read, hear, see, it's just information. And too often we go away thinking something really is a good idea, then unfortunately we go on doing what we have always done. Information is worthless unless applied. Wayne Gretzky famous hockey player, after being razzed about his missed shots, said, "You know, I missed 100% of all the shots I didn't take." Think about that. John Masters, a Canadian gas and oil wildcatter, once said that regardless of all of the charts, the history, the scientific information, there's only one way to get oil. You have to drill for it. So if you find yourself not being very effective, it may be that even though you have all of this information floating around in your head, unless you practice it, it doesn't work. Don't just know all of these things, do all of these things. If you do, you'll be more effective with not only difficult people, but all people. Good luck. Hang in there.